Every business owner will eventually exit their business. Okay, this might not be new news, but it's news that owners don't like to acknowledge. The part that's shocking is that over half of those owners will unexpectedly be forced out of their own companies. You heard that correctly. 50% of business exits are entirely involuntary. And without proper planning, you could be forced to leave your company under less than ideal circumstances. Planning your exit isn't just about selling your business. It's a holistic approach that protects what you've built, ensures your financial security, and provides you an achievable path to fulfilling the future that you want. Hello, I'm Michael Wildeveld. In this video, I want to demystify the world of exit planning. We'll explore why exit planning is so crucial, the common pitfalls that lead to the majority of owners having deep regret regarding their transitions, the interconnected aspects of business, financial, and life planning, and finally, we'll touch on a few actionable strategies to increase your business's value, reduce risks, regardless of whether you intend to exit in the near term or at some point down the road. If you're not familiar with the term exit planning, don't worry. Most business owners aren't. In fact, most professional advisors aren't. This might not seem like a big deal, but it is. Why? Because 50% of business exits aren't voluntary. That means the owners didn't plan to leave their company. They were forced out due to the 5 Ds: death, disability, divorce, dispute, or distress. Since the pandemic, we could probably add a 6th D. And that would be government shutdowns due to disease. Let me share with you some stats about how prepared most business owners are. First, 49% haven't engaged in any form of transition or contingency planning. 79% don't have a written plan. So those that have thought about it or discussed it with a trusted few, doesn't help much if them or that trusted advisor's out of commission. And 80% of owners don't have a formal just-in-case transition team in place. Officially, 60% don't know their exit options. In my experience, the number is far higher. It's more like 100%. And this is because most exit planners only think of the conventional transition strategies like family or different forms of internal succession, management buyouts, or third-party sales. There are a lot more options available. Some of these are conventional, some of them aren't. I actually like the ones that are less conventional but work better for certain owners. But think about this. Most owners invest the majority of their lives building their companies. Now, it's not just their time and effort, but typically it's the majority of their net worth that's also at risk. It's also about their family, their staff, their customers, vendors, and each of their families. Without proper planning, they are putting the entire community that they've created at risk, usually without the owners even realizing it. Now that's scary. Don't get me started on estate and inheritance tax. This can range from 18 to 40% for those at the top end of the spectrum. Owners may think they're doing family members a favor until they realize the potential tax liability associated with it when they don't properly plan. No one thinks a surprise will ever happen to them, but our team has met over 5,000 owners and we've helped over 1,000 through their transitions. We see this happen all the time. It's just that when it does happen, the results are so bad that no one wants to talk about it. Here's another daunting statistic. 75% of owners profoundly regret their transition choices. This isn't just from our experience, this is from a large PricewaterhouseCoopers studies. The reasons for this vary, but shockingly, it's not because the owners didn't achieve what they wanted. They may have received exactly what they thought they wanted. They just didn't invest the time to fully understand their options, prepare their company, get their personal affairs in order, or thoroughly consider what was going to happen once they exited and what would fulfill them and excite them once they've gone through a transition. In our experience, most owners come to us with a 12 to 18 month time horizon and ask us what can be done. The tough reality is that many value enhancement and tax mitigation initiatives require at least 5 years advance notice to implement. In some instances, this isn't something you could even speed up. There's a hard time limit. For example, if you refile your corporate reorganization into another type of entity, the IRS requires that it's done 5 years in advance. So the key is to give yourself enough runway to have all your options available, because they start to diminish at this 5-year mark. We do help those 12 to 18 month owners every day. They're actually the rule, not the exception. But they all wish that they'd have started sooner. It's a bit like going to your doctor with chest pains after years of unhealthy living and asking them what can be done. The conversation really should have happened a little bit earlier. Part of the confusion around exit planning stems from the name itself. We're the first to admit our industry isn't filled with marketing experts. We could probably have chosen a more appealing name that owners would be more excited to talk about. The reality is, exit planning doesn't necessarily have to do anything with an exit at all. Exit planning is really just holistic business planning, personal financial planning, and life planning. Many owners might think Well, my accountant helps me with my retirement planning. My attorney set up my estate plans. And I'll probably just give the business to my kids or sell it to my staff or a partner or even a competitor. Unfortunately, this dramatically oversimplifies the situation. This is why 75% of owners have profound post-transition regrets. These three aspects of our lives, our companies, our financial preparedness, and our personal readiness, are all extraordinarily interconnected. Whether we realize it or not, one doesn't exist without the two others. In exit planning, or what I prefer to refer to as transition planning, we look at these three integral areas from a big picture standpoint. The community includes CPAs, financial and insurance planners, wealth advisors, attorneys, and others that are tax, estate, and MLA specialists. We have growth specialists, personal and business coaches, M&A professionals, and even therapists. The key difference with these professionals is that in the exit planning ecosystem, they've all been trained to take this holistic approach. This means brainstorming ideas, coordinating efforts, sharing experiences, crafting plans, and implementing them all together. We're all aligned for the client's best interest. Ideally, this is done without working in traditional silos that most professionals are used to working in. Communication and collaboration are key, so everyone's trained to play nice with one another in the sandbox. Another aspect of exit or transition planning that isn't intuitive is that sometimes the best option for a client is not to exit at all, at least not immediately. A company can be able to operate without relying on the owner, with the help of existing staff or by bringing in a few key people. Most of my favorite transition strategies involve the owner taking their chips off the table, but retaining a minority or majority of their own company. If owners tend to have 80% of their net worth locked up in their businesses, we can devise a plan to take a large portion of that money out of their companies by various means. This could be accomplished with a partial ESOP, a private equity recapitalization, a strategic partnership, or a different form of a safe harbor strategy. In these scenarios, the owner gains liquidity and solidifies their financial security. They move away from most liabilities and personal guarantees, but they gain key personnel and financial resources to grow their company and help it to reach its full potential, oftentimes entirely on somebody else's dime. The owner's remaining stock can appreciate in value, and this may become far more valuable than the additional portion that they already cashed in on, even if that was initially 80%. In certain circumstances, they may continue to lead the charge or leave it to those with next level expertise. They may also continue to draw salary, benefits, perks, and profit distributions. The reality is, with proper planning, nearly everything is possible. Most owners just don't realize this or know how to go about achieving it. Once again, ironically, through proper exit planning, you may never have to exit at all. So think of exit planning as a mindset shift. It's not just about one finite business, financial, or personal transaction, but an ongoing process that incorporates all three aspects of our lives. From a business perspective, the good news is that owners can dramatically increase the value of their companies in the process. This isn't about gimmicks to grow revenues. It's not about cutting costs and maximizing short-term profits. Instead, it's about genuine value building, specifically increasing the transferable value of your company, whether or not it ultimately goes through an internal or external transition. Rather than just increasing profits, which might be applied to a simple multiple to arrive at a company's valuation, exit planning actually moves that valuation multiple, which is a far more impactful approach. If you make $2 million and sell for a 5 times multiple, you're at $10 million. But you can focus your efforts on increasing that $2 million to an earnings of 2.5 to get to a $12.5 million value. But if you're at $2 million and move it to an 8 times multiple, you're at $16 million. In the first two scenarios, you may face over 40% in taxes. So that $10 million may only net you $6 million. But what if you could keep all $16 million through proper planning? So if the choice is between increasing earnings by 25% or increasing your multiple, trust me, you want to focus on your multiple. The same logic applies for tax planning. But guess what? Through comprehensive exit planning, you could do all three of these. In sports, we call this the hat trick. Once again, the better job owners and exit planners do at this, the less need there may be for you to exit your company in the first place. Imagine this: you can make the same type of modifications within your own organization, implement the improvements, de-risk, and grow value just like a private equity buyer would, but you could receive all the benefits from them instead. You could potentially create long-term sustainable generational wealth for your family, either by not selling in the first place or by transacting with your staff or a buyer from a position of strength and on your terms. Another component of exit planning, which isn't always intuitive, involves mentally preparing for the transition. It's about ensuring there's a sufficient, well thought out path to a fulfilling future without regret. This means delving into your long-term satisfaction drivers to craft this type of path. And I realize this may sound like a touchy-feely psychology discussion when you thought we're having more of a financial planning type of conversation, but that's exactly the point. This approach has to be focused on the big picture to deliver the most satisfying results. So yes, a shift of mindset is required. From my perspective, having helped to orchestrate over 1,000 transitions in the past 22 years, most with next to zero planning, I'm here to tell you that I've seen the results with and without advanced planning. Without question, planning is the better way to go. So not to sound like a broken record, but many owners might still wonder, why do I need to consider exit planning if I'm not selling? You're missing the point. Remember, we just gave it a really, really bad, unmarketable name. Exit planning is basic business, financial, and life planning. It's critical for every owner, no matter where you're at in your journey. In fact, the earlier that you're at in the journey, the more benefits you stand to reap from it and the more options for value building and growth you'll have in your company. It's more about creating value by protecting what is already there, enhancing it to bring your business to a best-in-class status to maximize its value. At the same time, you're insulating it from seen and unforeseen risks, becoming familiar with various income and capital gains tax mitigation strategies, and you're learning the potential transition and post-transition options that are available to you. So hopefully the topic of exit planning is no longer a mysterious one. It's just integrated and all-encompassing business, financial, and personal planning to give you the most options possible with the best results and the fewest potential regrets, all so you can exit on your terms. As we've explored, exit planning is far more than just preparing to sell your business. It's about securing your financial future, ensuring the best possible outcomes for you, your family, and your community, and safeguarding your legacy. By taking a holistic approach that considers your business, financial, and personal goals, you could turn potential risks into opportunities and make informed decisions that align with your values and your long-term vision. Whether you're years away from an exit or you simply want to build a stronger, more resilient company, the time to start planning is now. Remember, the earlier you begin, the more control you're going to have over your future. Once you're 5 years out, some of your options begin to diminish. Thank you for watching, and I encourage you to take the first step today toward a successful transition, one that'll allow you to exit on your terms.